All right. I I came up with something of a discovery here. Uh, I made a little invention that helps out a job that has stumped quite a few people. If you own a third gen Cummins, this would be like a 2000. I guess that's a 2003 to 2007. I don't know if my years are right. But there was a point at which they discontinued the tappet cover that's located under the side of the engine. And typically, when you change out a cam, you're supposed to change out the tappets, right? And these right here are little tappets, and you notice it's flat on the bottom, right there. And you also notice that they're kind of cylindrical on the top, so when they're installed in the engine, they can only go up. If you let them go or you move the cam, they just fall into the bottom of the oil pan, and you have to remove the whole engine after that point to get it out. So I talked to a couple of people, and they're just like, yeah, there's no way to change them in the third gen except to pull the engine up and to drop the oil pan. So they say. Me being the guy that I am, I actually invented a method that works surprisingly well. So I'll go ahead and put your attention over here. You notice these little ropes that I have stuck off into the bores. Well, in the bottom, I've got these nice little lines that are holding up my tappet, so I'll be able to change them out. And the way I did it was with this little invention right here. These right here are bulkhead nuts, right? So they're made of rubber. They're 1/4 inch on the thread diameter, and it just so happens that they fit perfectly into the tops of these tappets. Now, you can't install it with the line on there, right? So I had to figure out a way to handle that problem. So what I did is I used a 12-inch, 1/4 inch rod, 1/4 inch thread rod, and this rod threads quite beautifully onto these. And just like that, look at that. I've got myself an installer. So I take my little darling little installer here, and we have to go up to the top of the firewall on this particular beast. There's a little plug that you move back there, and we drop it down into the little lifter port down there. So once we figure out where it is, which, oh damn, I just hit it straight off the bat. It usually doesn't happen. Get you some light down here. And then you take your hammer and you give her a little tap, tap, tap until it's nice and well seated in the top of that tappet, which it is. So now I've got my little rubber plug installed, and then I can just screw this little thing out here, and out she goes, just like so. So now that little first portion is installed inside of the tappet. There's a second step. I take this little rod right here, which I think had an inner diameter of a 1/2 inch or so, or 3/8 or something, I can't remember. No, that's 1/2 inch, that's 1/2 inch. And I took some paracord, which is tied on this little fella right here. I made these little eyelets, by the way, by taking some thumb screws, and I went on ahead and I cut the shoulders off of them so that it would be more narrow, I'll say, than the tops of the tappets. And I can take this little tube here. It's got these little notches that are cut in it. My focus would act right, which is not. It's not going to. Let's see, there we go. It's got those little grooves cut into the top of it. So then I take my piece of paracord. I go through it like so. And those little notches right there on the top, that little knot, I kind of burnt it and squeezed it down because the paracord is basically made of plastic. And that little knot right there is what holds on to the screw and allows me to screw this little eyelet right into the top of my bulkhead nut. So put that in there. Find that little hole in the top of the firewall, and she goes. Straighten her up in there like so. And I can drop that in there, and I can screw that into the top of the nut. And voila, it creates a nice little, whoops, slip past it. It creates a nice little installation that is nice and tight. Give it a couple of turns like that to make sure it's in there tight. Pull the string out of the way. Oh, that's not in there. Oh, yeah, it is. Okay, no, that's in there. That is. It sure is. I can pull this up and pull the string through it. And as I do, one of the most difficult jobs that you can do on this engine has been accomplished without removing a cylinder head, without pulling the engine out, and absolutely without, let's put that down there, get out of there, and absolutely without pulling off the oil pan. So now the tappet is held up and it's nice and tight. It's not going to fall. And I just wrap it around the injector like that. Put a couple of knots up under the up under my rope. Just kind of hold it tight. And then I just kind of lay my rope off there. And voila! Look at that. So there's a first in history. For anybody that's trying to change your tappets on a 3rd gen, there you go. I perfected a method. And I got one more to install on the very back. And then I can go ahead and pull out 2 13mm screws, which is a new cam, by the way. I just was dumb enough to think I could reuse my tappet until I looked at my old cam and I saw that the lobes were beat up. So that's coming out. I can comfortably change out my tappets without worrying about them falling into the bottom of the engine pan. And history has been made by me once again. So there we go. Good stuff. Anybody else working on a 3rd gen or 6.7 Cummins? Your prayers have been answered. So there you go. Feel free to copy me later on. Bye.